What's going on, YouTube? This week on the Atlantic Files, we're talking plenty of Boston Celtics as we welcome Alec Walt to the show. We are also talking all-star predictions and all-star who deserves to play and who doesn't. So stick with us and check out our latest episode.
The following podcast is part of the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. For advertising information or to find more great podcasts, visit us at www.theunderdogsports.com and follow us on Twitter at RealTheUnderdog.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast in the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network, joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fishbein. We got Dennis Clausen, we got Mike Bash, and we welcome Alec Walt, the host of the Alec Walt Show on Down the Block Sports. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you guys having me.
Always love having you on. It was a treat joining your show to talk about Ben Simmons, so
that was fun.
It was only right.
Because you're the only one that could say anything positive about Ben Simmons.
Me?
Yeah.
That's Dennis, not me. Dennis, you're muted, by the way.
How about now?
Yep.
Oh
good
yeah,
now.
we're back.
It's like the Verizon, or I think it was the Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, he said thanks for having me, and I go, I didn't do anything. It wasn't my choice.
All right, but so we bring Alec Walt on because he's expert everything Celtics, and we barely know anything Celtics other than Jayson Tatum's good, Jaylen Brown's good, and the rest is kind of bad.
Not that much else with this team right now.
I was going to say, is there really anything else that we should be knowing about? I mean, Robert Williams can block people.
True.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Williams is pretty good. I mean, he's young. When you look at Marcus Smart, you pretty much know what you're getting out of him. I don't think he's a starting one in the NBA. I think he's either a starting two or a backup kind of anywhere you want him to, like basic overall six man, because you can put him in multiple different spots. But outside of Tatum and Brown, I mean, their other young guards really aren't doing very much. And it's basically the two of them have to drop 50 each or this team's not really going anywhere.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, we've said pretty much the same thing too. But I saw you posted a video recently on the Down the Block Sports YouTube page about Peyton Pritchard earning more minutes.
Yeah,
he seemed like he got a ton of minutes last year in his rookie season, but this year with Udoka, he seems to barely be playing at all. What? I don't understand what the deal was there.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Celtics roster, I mean, it's very clear who the starters are. They've basically gone with the same five pretty much throughout the entire season. Then you look at their bench, they have Dennis Schroeder and Josh Richardson. They've been playing Cantor a little bit more, but one of the main questions going into the year, or Freedom, one of the main questions going into the year was, which of the young guards they've drafted the last couple years in the first round is really going to step up and be a piece to this team. And I feel like going into every single game, Udoka has no idea what some of these guys are going to provide to the Celtics. I mean, some days it's the Romeo Langford day. Some days it's the Aaron Nesmith day. It's actually currently the Aaron Nesmith stretch as he got most of the minutes against the New Orleans Pelicans. Some days it's Peyton Pritchard. I feel like it's been the least Pritchard because of Dennis Schroeder being a point guard and those two playing pretty much the same position. But it's been kind of annoying to watch. I trust Pritchard the most because he's the most aggressive. He'll drive to the lane. He'll draw fouls. When he's hot, he'll make a three. Nesmith's kind of like the best player on the court for a minute, and then you kind of forget he's on the team for the rest of the game. Langford, you don't really know what he is. It's like, is he a shooter? Is he a passer? Is he it's just kind of, you don't know what you're getting out of him every time he's on the court. So they're a weird team. You don't really know what their roles are. I wish Pritchard would play a little bit more, but the Celtics are a team I simply will never understand because when you watch them play, it's not like they have one specific problem. Because one day they're not healthy because they have COVID issues. The next day they don't play defense. The next day they don't have a transition game. The next day they're inconsistent from three. The next game, they get barely any play. They have a bunch of poor out-of-bounds plays. The next game, they have a 20-point lead and then blow it. The next game, they don't really look situationally sound, and some of their lineups look messed up. It doesn't make any sense, which is why they're one game above 500. They are the most frustrating team to watch in the league.
Mike,
Go
you got it.
Well, I thought you were. We both looked at each other. I thought you were going to say. No, I mean, like I said about the Celtics. And Alec kind of obviously as a Celtics fan, kind of hit the nail on the nail on the head. I guess is that the right saying there?
Yeah,
Or,
there you go.
Yeah.
nail on the whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever.
They look like a team. Like sometimes you watch this team play and they look like they can't lose. Like you see Jayson Tatum go off for 40 any given night, or Jaylen Brown go, and the way they score, like Jayson Tatum can get a basket whenever he wants, and you're just like, how does this team lose? If Jayson Tatum doesn't turn the ball over 17 times or something, it's like, how does this team lose? But then you have Schroeder and Smart, who are more defensive-minded point guards who can't really shoot all that great. You got Horford, who's like 40, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got the Time Lord, my guy, the Time Lord, who needs to get more time and more minutes, and just let him be a athlete out there. But yeah, it's like the bottom half of their bench. Like, what are we doing with Enes Kanter? Or I'm sorry, Enes Freedom. Like, wasn't the guy getting like a double like every other game last year? And I don't even know if I don't think he was a Celtic last year. I think he was
a Blazer.
Yeah.
But like
Nurkic got hurt, so he was getting the starters minutes.
I remember because our one of the guys in our fantasy league had him, and he was getting a double every game. He had 11 and 11 last year, and like if you look at his stats, he's 10 and 11, 10 and 14, and like I don't think his game fell off that much. Is this like a political thing that they're not playing because he's bashing Turkey or something? I mean, is this like a Daryl Morey situation?
I'm a baloney guy.
I hope not. I don't know. I mean, he's playing more lately, which I guess is I guess would be nice, but I'm gonna their lineups don't make any sense. I'm telling you, you watch this team, and you'll see just 5 random dudes on the court, and Ime's just praying that they start playing well. There's just no rhythm. There's no. They just don't really make much sense to me.
It's just weird because like
it doesn't make sense.
I'm starting to think like, am I gonna have to start shopping Alperen Sengun in our dynasty league? Because if he starts talking out against Turkey, is he not gonna play? That's how I feel. Like, watch out for the Turks. But
I will say real quick that when the Sixers played the Celtics, even like the Kanter's first time on the Celtics, I was always excited when Kanter came in for Horford because Kanter can't play defense.
I know, he doesn't play defense at all. And they're so small that they have to have a 5 that plays defense.
Oh, yeah.
Because when Tatum moves to the 4, it's just teams just abuse him on the switch.
Can I just say, though, that the player on the Celtics that has the highest PER on the season is none other than ISO Joe in his 2 minutes of game time.
That's hilarious.
He has a PER of 40.49.
That's hilarious.
Him and Lance Stevenson both need to be on teams.
But I want to ask, this like is a separate question, Alec, but as a guy who watches the Celtics every game, I want to ask your take on, because there's a lot of like, the Celtics clearly have a type when it comes to the draft. They are like almost like what the Hornets do before LaMelo Ball, where they always draft a good college player. Like, doesn't mean his game's going to translate to the NBA, but because he played well in college, they think it's going to do it. Like Grant Williams, Peyton Pritchard, Jabari Parker. Well, they didn't draft Jabari Parker, but like they have Sam Hauser on the bottom of this lineup. They have Marcus Smart's another guy like that.
Even Neesmith.
One guy I was always intrigued by is Romeo Langford. Coming out of high school, this kid was like Mr. Indiana, top 5 recruit in the country or top 10 recruit in the country. Everyone in Indiana like couldn't wait for him to get there. He was supposed to like be the savior of Indiana basketball and bring them back to their glory days. And he was there for a year or two, and now he's still only 22 years old, but like he hasn't done anything in his career. Is there any potential there? Like, is he ever going to become something, or is he just going to play at the back end of the bench for 5 years and then end up in, Serie A or like the Spanish league?
Yeah, it's weird that he's not really translating because, obviously he hurt his hand while he played for Indiana. It led to him dropping in the draft to the Celtics pick. He hasn't really played a full season. I mean, he only played 32 games his rookie year, 18 games last season. Doesn't really get many opportunities to start. His minutes are pretty low. He barely gets over 15 or so minutes per game. A little bit more this year, but one of the biggest issues is since he's come into the NBA is he hasn't been very healthy. He hasn't been the most consistent, behind the arc. He's starting to fill out a little bit more. He is significantly bigger today than when I saw him his rookie season. So there's some potential there, but you watch him play and you don't exactly know what he is because he was supposed to be someone who's a combo guard and you don't see him bring the ball up very often. The Celtics need someone who can play in like a corner 3-point shooting role, and it's not exactly what he is. He's a good passer, good scorer, good mid-range. At times if he plays the 2, he's 6'5", so if he has a mismatch, he's not terrible with getting boards. You just don't exactly know what his role is, and his role isn't the same every time he's on the court. So, I wish the Celtics could kind of figure out a perfect spot for him. Again, his minutes aren't consistent because he's stuck in kind of who's going to get the minutes between the 3 younger guards on the team. So, you almost want to figure out what type of guard he is. I think the potential is there because he does have a lot of skills that translate into this game. It's just he hasn't been on the healthy for a full season, and it's not guaranteed he gets minutes on a game-by-game basis.
All right, honeys. You guys are getting so in depth with this Celtics stuff. And where you're glaring over the main fact of why this team is absolute garbage. And it's the fact that Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they cannot coexist. They don't pass the ball to each other. They're one of the lowest. They have the fewest assists per game. They're in the top 5, I believe. They don't pass the ball. Marcus Smart wants to beat these guys up every day. Marcus Smart called them out back in November. Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown got into it after a playoff game one day. They had to be separated. So it's evident here that Marcus Smart's days in Boston are likely coming to an end. What does that mean? They're searching for a playmaker. They don't have it. Yeah, no shit. We said that when Kemba Walker left, and we said these guys don't have anybody to run the point. Dennis Schroeder hasn't played that bad this season, especially this. What's that?
I said he hasn't.
Right. So Dennis Schroeder is actually shooting 44% from 3 in January. So Schroeder's actually kind of exceeded expectations for a guy who there's times he can play well and there's times he can play like garbage. They need to make a deal. And if they need to separate up these guys. Tatum's not going anywhere. I think they got to get rid of Brown. They seem to be getting along right now after Brown got his triple-double the other night. They say, I think we could play together. Yeah, what do you mean you think we could play together? It's either you can or you can't. So if you don't have a clear idea of whether you could coexist on the same floor and you two guys are supposed to be the pillar of the Celtics, you need to split them up. And the only answer that's going to save Boston at this point is Bradley Beal. And I've said that all along. Brown needs to be traded to Washington immediately, and they need to get Bradley Beal in the equation. If that deal doesn't happen, then they should really be looking to Dallas and trying to get Jalen Brunson because they desperately need somebody who could distribute the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I would love Bradley Beal. I mean, when I look at the trade, though, between the two of them, he has the player option next year, which is no guarantee he gets picked up. And then
it would have to be a sign and trade. It can't just be
I mean, I completely agree with you when it comes to them being unable to play together. I mean, when you see the two of them, they're arguably the best young duo in the NBA, and they're one game above 500. They're getting beat by teams they should beat on a consistent basis, and you watch them play, and there's not much rhythm offensively. They struggle late in games to determine who's going to be the finisher, and there's not always times where the Celtics have the best pieces to complement them. But I mentioned earlier in the show, I don't believe Marcus Smart is a starting point guard. I think he's either a versatile 6-man or a starting 2 guard. The offense really doesn't run well through him. Whenever the Celtics ask him to be something he's not, he struggles. He turns the ball over too much or takes too many 3-point shots. And you can tell there's tension whenever those moments happen and there's no rhythm. And we have seen it before. Now, I would love Bradley Beal. I think another guy that I would love to see get moved, even though I'm not fully sold that he wants to get moved, is someone like Damian Lillard. I think that Jaylen Brown for swap would be amazing. Because again, it's someone who can run this offense and be someone who can coexist alongside Jayson Tatum. So, those two are amazing. They are two very good friends, but at the end of the day, I see very little rhythm and very little potential is getting switched. That is true, but
I mean, Lillard's
got to get someone.
Lillard's stomach is he's had that abdominal strain for about 4 years, it seems like. So I mean, they can't go in that direction. They need to stay relatively young, and they got to split these two guys up. It's just not, and Marcus Smart is not a traditional point guard. No. And I'm sure he would even admit he's more of a defensive guy. He brings attitude. He brings toughness. He can shoot the three pretty well on occasion. He's not a ball handler. And if you went into the season thinking that Marcus Smart was going to be one of your distributors, then there's a big problem right there. So Udoka, when he came in, a big thing that probably the biggest thing on his radar should have been to get. Why are you shaking your head?
Because you said Udoka, it's Udoka.
Yeah, who cares? So when he came in, the I can't pronounce that shit. So the biggest thing was
it's 5 letters. It was five.
The biggest thing that he had to do was get these two guys to get on the same page, and that hasn't happened at all. So that's a failure.
I feel like I'm seeing a lot of the same problems from last year that haven't really gotten fixed, because one of the biggest issues I had under what was going on with Brad Stevens is this team had no transition game, which was almost their identity when Brad Stevens first came up with the Celtics, and he had guys like, Smart and Bradley and Crowder and Horford and all these good defensive players. They had a transition game. They had a defense. They had an identity. They made some trades, lost those players, drafted more from the offensive angle, and they completely disappeared. They had no transition game. Their ball movement was terrible, and it led to a coaching change. I look at the Celtics now, and I see a lot of those problems kind of remaining the same. I was hoping a new voice would make a difference with the two young stars, but I see a lot of the same problems I saw from last season, and clearly it's not working. Now, I do agree with you. The Celtics have to make a move. I think when you look at the NBA today, when you have young stars or you have stars in general and you're not winning and you're constantly playing wild card games and setting yourself up to play the Nets or the Bucks every single year in the first round, there's no guarantee those star players remain on those teams. So the Celtics have to do something, because they can't consistently keep setting Jayson Tatum up for first-round playoff exits, because that doesn't tell me that he's going to be here long term, and they got to make sure they find those players. But I haven't loved what Udoka. Oh God, now I'm going to say it.
See,
wrong. Udoka. I mean, I haven't been fully impressed. Again, I mean, the talent is on this team. They have the two young stars. They have some solid veterans. Again, it's certainly no perfect roster, but it's not a roster that's only one game better than 500. They need to play a lot better as a team. They need to play better coach. They need better coaching, and They got some work to do. It's certainly clear, but I'm hoping this schedule coming up, they do have a much easier schedule heading towards the deadline. Hopefully they can get some momentum. Obviously it's still pretty early in the season, so if they go on a nice little win streak, it can bump them a couple spots there in the standings, as they're currently the 10, which, I mean, the Celtics got to be better than the 10. That would be completely ridiculous. They're not the 10th best team in the Eastern Conference, but
you're right for the 12th.
They're the 12? I thought they were the 10.
No, I mean, they're garbage.
Oh, wow. I thought they were better.
I mean, you have higher expectations about the... Uh-oh.
So a team with two stars as good as Tatum and Brown should not be the 12th seed in the East. Yeah, I thought they were 10. The last time they were 10, I checked.
No, they are 10. I would just say they should.
Oh,
I mean, you seem to be expecting more out of them at this point. I don't expect... anything out of them.
Well, right now, I expect very little, because I'm not impressed with them at all.
Well, you are right.
They should be way better.
You are right, though, when you said their schedule. I mean, they won 5 of their last 6, so and they have a favorable schedule coming up: Charlotte, Portland, Washington, Sacramento, Atlanta, New Orleans. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they could make some moves right now very easily.
I was gonna say, we've talked about trade between Sacramento and Philly. We've beaten that to death. What if it was like a Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart for Fox and Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley? I mean, Fox could be a guy that could actually lead the offense at least.
Yeah, I mean, because you got the playmaker, the shooter, and then the versatility alongside him on the wing. I don't know. You didn't mention Robert Williams' name, so he'd remain at the 5. I don't know if the contracts will work because Al Horford is just kind of weighing them down.
Right.
But I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I think Brown is personally better than Fox. I think there'd have to be a little bit better with the trade. I think the Celtics would be giving up a lot there. But I mean, I feel like when you look at the Kings in general, I mean, whether the Celtics keep them, when you look at building a team for, I mean, this year or next, when you want to try to see what you can do, I mean, there's some not terrible contracts on that team. Like, I would totally look for someone like Harrison Barnes.
True.
I feel like he's someone you could definitely move on in a trade. You don't like him?
I used to love Harrison Barnes, but
they need a versatile wing badly.
He's not a
Tatum
difference
switches
maker.
to the 4. See, I don't know if the Celtics don't have the assets to get a difference maker. That's the problem. Unless Brown is moved, I don't think they move Brown this season.
I think Harrison Barnes is a difference maker if he's the 3rd or 4th option. I don't think he's a difference maker.
That's why they don't need scoring. The Celtics don't need a score. They already have 2 of them.
Right.
They need someone who can play defense and play versatile.
I mean, at this point, Harrison Barnes is just as good as Tobias Harris.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, when you look at some of the bad teams around basketball and you look at the Celtics assets for this season, I mean, Robert Williams has 4 years left after this year. Solid big man, nothing amazing. I mean, Smart's contract's much larger than I thought. I think he's under contract till 26.
Mm-hmm.
The Celtics gave him an extension for a little bit longer than I'd like them to, but he's a name that could possibly get moved. I don't like any of the Celtics young guards. So it's tough to really look at what they can add here because it's not like they're blowing anyone away with who they have.
Right.
I think Fox has been weighed down now with the emergence of Halliburton.
That too.
Bagley has been shit on since he's gotten into the league for some reason.
And Luke Walton hated him for some reason.
He hated him. And now
doesn't work.
I mean, he played like crazy lately while Rashawn Holmes was out. So Bagley's one of those guys, though, that if he was thrown in and he went to Boston, he's a guy who could easily start to see a pretty substantial uptick in his production.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't. It's tough to evaluate him because when you look at his game, you see all the potential. He's a big, physical guy who can play on the wing. I mean, there's moments where he looks like one of the best players on the court. Then there's moments where you kind of forget he's even on the team. You know he's going to get traded. It's tough to evaluate how much he's going to get in his next contract. He's a weird situation, but the potential's there. It's absolutely not happening in Sacramento. Their inability to keep players happy is unbelievable. It seems like everyone who goes to Sacramento hates it there.
True. I mean, they're the pinnacle of inept franchises.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
they're
one other target is one that's been going around the rumor mill and everything is Myles Turner. Indiana said they want either 2 firsts or a first and a promising young player.
Yeah,
I mean, it depends what Indiana's definition of promising young player is.
Yeah, because I don't know who the Celtics. I mean, obviously they're not moving one of their 2 stars in any deal that gets them Turner.
Yeah, not for Myles
that's not
Turner.
happening. Their 3 first-round pick guards are, I don't know what their trade value is because none of them gets it. None of them get consistent minutes or playing time or a role. I mean, Grant's been better, but no one's blown away by Grant Williams.
Right.
I mean, you could move Robert Williams, but
don't move
it's
the time.
1 year of Turner for 4 years of Robert. I don't think the Celtics would accept that.
Right.
Well,
especially
Or
if
a
they
year
have
and
to
a half
attack the
for
first
4.5.
round pick.
Exactly. So, I mean,
No.
there's the Celtics are interested in every single Indiana Pacer, in my opinion. I mean, they would love a Sabonis, or they would love a Turner, or they would love a Brogdon even, but they're just not a perfect match for any of them trade-wise, because I really don't love the Celtics assets outside of obviously the two young stars.
Well, with the Pacers though, there's been constant rumors about the reset, them hitting a reset button.
Oh, yeah.
Sabonis's name has been floating out there. Brogdon's good, but his inability to remain on the court has been kind of a hindrance to his career. So if you waived a guy like Brown in order to obtain like a Brogdon, Sabonis,
Karis
LeVert, like that would be amazing. And then you could add on some picks. And I think Boston, next season has like 1 million second-round picks that they could possibly throw at. So there is a path there to getting a guy like Sabonis on their team. LeVert would be fantastic. Brogdon, TJ Warren has been out forever, but if he came back, like Mike calls him the Jordan bubble, right? Or the bubble Jordan.
Bubble Jordan.
Yeah.
Man, you really are flipping everything tonight. Did you take your medicine or whatever?
I was going to say I'm anorexic, but
it's dyslexic.
Dennis, don't take that from Mike. He still can't pronounce Furkan Korkmaz or Onyeka Okongwu either.
I can pronounce Onyeka Okongwu, but Dennis, I hate
you always say Okongwu.
I don't take this the wrong way. Well, you're the farthest thing from anorexic, so
you got that going for you.
You don't know my struggles.
Well, it doesn't show.
When I look at the Celtics and Brown, just to
Alex, I want nothing to do with this bullshit. So I'm going right back to talking sports. Go ahead, brother.
I don't see them moving him for at least a year, if they were
I could
to.
see that, yeah.
Because his contract has 3 more years on it, and I don't see them doing it yet, at least for a bit.
I got you. No, that makes sense. I mean, there's been so many rumors about tons of different people that are available, not available, this and that this year. Even more so, I think, this year, just because of, the type of names that have been in limbo. I mean, you still have people like John Wall, who hasn't even played because Houston's quote unquote been trying to trade him, but I don't know how hard they're trying to trade him, especially because no one wants to pay him $43 million next year, which I think is what he's owed. And then, of course, the whole Ben Simmons issue. I mean, there's a lot of things going on there too. Lately, there's been a lot of, made up 3-way deals or 4-way deals with all sorts of teams going in on that, with Indiana, Sacramento, Boston, the Knicks, everybody. So there are a ton of different ways that I think they could go. I mean, honestly, there's even been rumors about Julius Randle getting traded from the Knicks. And if he somehow made his way to Boston with Jayson Tatum, I don't know. That might work. But at the same time,
I don't know I don't think I would do that.
I was about to say, I wouldn't trade like Jaylen Brown for him or anything.
No.
So
I mean, if the Celtics are moving him, they're getting a ton. They're getting another star. I mean, Jaylen Brown's one of the best players, the like 2 guards or even 3 wherever he plays. He switches every once in a while. Younger guys in the game, and he's taken another step forward this year. It bothers the hell out of me that they can't figure out who's going to finish games, and it's led to them losing a bunch of games in the fourth quarter. But this dude's an absolute stud, and if they're going to move him, they're going to get a ton in return for him.
Oh yeah.
But they're in a weird spot, because if they move someone like Schroeder, for example, due to his contract, he could play for pretty much any team in the league on the trade market. They could get possibly a first or a young player in return for him. But if you trade him, it sends a message that you're probably rebuilding.
Right.
If you don't trade him, you get him for nothing because he's not a perfect fit, and you're not going to re-sign him for more than his contract is currently, after giving like the mid-level exception or something like that for him. And that disastrous for him, like not signing a deal, then kind of falling into Boston there after no team was able to sign him. And then, do you trade your young players for what is their trade value? Does it get anyone that takes you over the hump in the East? Do you get greater than a 6? Because if you don't, you're playing the Nets or the Bucks or the Bulls in the first round, and you're gonna lose in that playoff series. So it seems like every road they go,
there.
I think the Nets will be healthy by the playoffs.
And I might be 280.
I think the Nets will be okay. I mean, they'll beat the Celtics, I think, in my opinion. I mean, because KD's out for 6 weeks?
Yeah, 4 to 6
4
weeks.
to 6.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. But
they'll be active in the buyout market too.
Before we get to KD, though, I just wanted to say that I do agree with Dennis that Bradley Beal is like the top guy that they should go for. But I think the perfect deal for them would be Dinwiddie and Beal.
I said that 2 months ago. I said they need to do...
I would take him, absolutely.
Here we go with Dennis Stradamus again.
But...
I just do it because I want to. You think you're smarter than me, but so yeah. If they did Dinwiddie and Beal for Smart and Brown,
and even like a couple young guys, just throw Pritchard.
At this point, take Kuzma because nobody wants them. I mean, take that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that would be because then you have Dinwiddie to run the offense. You have Beal as another star. Also, like best friends with Jayson Tatum. And then at that point, you just have to start filling in other areas. I mean, there's still, I wouldn't say that move alone would make them like a top 2 seed, but once you fill in with some better role players, the sky's the limit with that kind of team. So,
and I feel like when you look at the way those two play and Beal's ability to play with the basketball, run the offense, I those two would fit so well together. I have no idea what the Celtics are going to do yet for the trade. I would love Bradley Beal though. Absolutely love Bradley Beal.
Right. So that brings me to our last Celtics question. Should Ime Udoka stay more than this season? There was when we had our offseason predictions, and Dennis and I both said Coach of the Year was going to be Billy Donovan. So since I didn't feel like having the same name coach twice, I decided to say Ime Udoka. And obviously that's not going to happen.
Nope.
It's better than my Chauncey Billups projection.
Well, that's true.
But that was a shot in the dark. Who was my actual... Do you remember who my actual guy was?
I don't remember.
All right.
I know Dennis had Mike Malone for the West. My shot in the dark for the West was Willie Green, which also won't happen. So... But anyway,
when I look at Ime, I have not been very impressed with his coaching this year. I think there's a lot of teams. What?
So he looks good in a sweater, though.
Yeah, Celtics. Let's go. Why? Do you know why? So, like, question. So, like, when did they not like? Didn't coaches before like
had to wear a suit?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
now they don't.
The bubble is when that all started.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never actually knew why. I just all of a sudden I was like, wait, they're not wearing before. But either way,
yeah.
Teams adjust on them at halftime, and he doesn't know how to fix it. In the fourth quarter, they look lost. There's not really much flow offensively or defensively, and it looks like this really isn't a match. I think Ime is a really good guy, but I don't think he's the right coach for this team. First year GM, and really things aren't going very well. If I'm the Celtics, I need to make sure my star players are happy, at least one of them, because you can't be in a situation where you lose both of them. And I thought Ime was going to fix some of their issues. Obviously as a member of the Popovich coaching tree, you were hoping that he would bring, defense would improve. It hasn't. Their ball movement would improve. It hasn't. Their consistency would improve. It hasn't. Teams are adjusting on them quickly. They're blowing leads. There's games where there's a different issue pretty much every night. And there's times where he looks at his bench and has no idea who to put in the game. So personally, I have not been impressed. If they finished as the 10 seed or lower, I think they need to figure out what they're doing coaching wise. I do think there is a window here for the Celtics to move up a little bit here in the East. Again, that could determine how active they are at the deadline and where they finish at the end of the season. But in general, I have not been impressed with Udoka. And if they continue looking like they do right now heading into the season and get embarrassed in the playoffs or heck, don't even make it through the wild card, they got to get the right coach in there to convince players to want to play for this team and keep their stars happy to want to stay in Boston. And I just don't see the long-term potential as it stands right now with Ime. I've not been very impressed in his first season.
Well, if they keep Brown and Tatum together, then they need to have a come to Jesus moment and say, hey, you got to fix this shit, because if you don't, we got to find somebody who will.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
And I don't know if Ime's the guy who's going to fix it.
And I mean,
there's been games like the first half of that Knicks game before they blew a 25-point lead. Brown and Tatum were moving the ball like crazy. It was a brand of basketball. It was the best version of the Celtics I'd seen all season. The second half, they stopped, got lazy getting back on defense, and blew a 25-point lead and lost to RJ Barrett on a 3. That's what I can't stand about this team. Is show me which version you're going to be and continue. Like they shoot themselves in the foot way too much and just show different versions of themselves throughout an entire basketball game.
And it says a lot when after the Sixers Celtics game last week, when Embiid was interviewed and they asked what was the difference between the Sixers playing defense against Charlotte and then playing defense against Boston. He was like, well, Boston's just super ISO heavy. So we know how to play defense against them. Charlotte just passed the ball so much that you could only keep up so long. And so like they lost out on keeping up with the ball, and then Charlotte got all the open shots. And so if that's Embiid saying it, which Embiid usually doesn't say those things.
I mean, he's seen this team enough. I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, when they play ISO ball and shoot a bunch of low percentage threes or dribble the ball for too long through the shot clock and pass it to someone else to take a low percentage shot, it's impossible to really get your offense going. I mean, teams know how to set up against this Celtics team, and they're a team that when they get trapped or when they have a lead and get lazy are very easy to beat. When you play the Celtics, the game's never over. That's one thing I've learned when watching them. And, I mean, they get trapped, though, in those ISO, I'm going to win the game moments. It doesn't make any sense. And like at that point, you were hoping that the new coach would fix it, but it hasn't through the first half of the season.
Well, let's put it to you this way. Even if he does get fired, he's still a winner. You see his wife or fiance?
I've not.
I'm
sure.
Check it out.
Okay.
Who's what?
Ime.
Yeah. KD,
right.
Only Dennis would know that.
KD.
All right. So anyway.
Yeah, he's going to be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we're also talking about a guy who has plenty of money and everything, too.
Yeah,
it's not like his life is
He's very successful, but it's just unfortunately not working right now with the Celtics.
He's not working down at the watch factory. He lost his job, and you know what I mean? He's good.
He'll be good. But so, moving on from the Celtics, we have our last topic, which I figured would take a little bit because we can debate this. So, the NBA All-Star. I'm going to share this real quick because I have the voting returns. Let's see.
Stupid. The fans are stupid.
All right. So, we got the voting returns here for each side. So, if it ended today and these starters would be for the West, it would be LeBron, Jokic, and Wiggins, and Steph and Ja.
Interesting team.
For the East, it would be KD, Giannis, Embiid, and DeRozan and Trae Young.
Well, KD's not going to make it, so it'd be Tatum.
Well, I'm just saying, like, just in terms of the top vote getters. But yeah, you're right. KD would be hurt, so then Tatum would get in. Looking at these lists, so
here's the funny thing with the West, though, is all right. So Wiggins, obviously, we know that's just Golden State stuff in the ballot. Paul George, Anthony Davis, Draymond Green are all hurt.
Yep.
So is Carmelo going to start in the All-Star game?
I mean,
or wait, hold on, my guy Cat.
I was about to say, it could finally come down to your guy Cat.
Yeah, but this is just the fans, right?
Yeah, this is just the fans.
Then those 5 go to the draft, right? And then they pick between them. Starting lineups.
everyone eventually goes to the draft,
Oh
but
my God.
those will
Oof.
just be like the starters in the draft.
Remember when Yao Ming would be the leading vote getter every year because China would just stuff the ballot?
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
It'd be like if you want
billion.
like it'd be like if you want to be able to like have freedom for 24 hours, here vote Yao Ming, and they would all vote Yao Ming.
I mean, I go down to the Chinese restaurant, order a sesame chicken, and then stuff a ballot in for Yao Ming.
But now, as of right now,
it's fucking stupid. This All-Star game's stupid.
The captains of each team would be the leading vote getter on each side. So right now it'd be Steph, and I guess if KD's injured, it would be Giannis. So that would be the first time LeBron finally is not the captain of one side. But
Steph's ahead, yeah.
But it is the West front court is just a conglomerate of head scratchers. Like, why is Melo 7th? Why is
LaMarcus Aldridge 10th in the East?
Well, I mean that too, but why is Wiggins 3rd?
I mean,
Wiggins has been good, but come on.
You know what I don't understand? Hold on, scroll down real quick. Wiggins has more than double the votes of Klay Thompson.
Exactly.
And he has more votes than Draymond Green. You'd think if they were going to stop the ballot, at least be with Klay and Green, not
How
Wiggins.
is Mitchell 8th?
Exactly. Wiggins has more than double the votes of Booker, Westbrook, Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard, even Anthony Edwards.
All right, can you tell me this? How does Wiggins have 1.2 million more votes than LaMelo Ball?
Exactly.
But there's something wrong. Like they must be using the same.
Canada?
They must be. No, you know what it is? They're probably using the same voting system that we used in the 2020 election, where you're voting for Trump and you're not being selected Biden.
But not just that, Wiggins has almost 200,000 more votes, or sorry, 400,000 more votes than Luka Doncic.
You're gonna hear Trump go, I can't believe Wiggins didn't have that many votes. There has to be votes hidden somewhere.
It was tremendous.
The Democrats.
It is the greatest voting system in NBA history. Tremendous. I know the people that.
Great people. They do. Yeah.
But even like Darius Garland all the way down at 9th is crazy. Garland's
there's guys on this list who are like, I don't want to make the fucking All-Star team because I don't want to go to Cleveland. they're like, we just want to, please, I want to go to Cabo. Just don't vote me in. I don't want to go there. I mean, what's in Cleveland? Nothing.
Oh my God.
Why did they pick there?
Okay, Joakim Noah.
I guess it's just a round robin of all the NBA cities.
Like they're probably the last city I would pick.
So let me ask you, how like every time like you're in like a the hometown team, right? Like there are star players like the unofficial host of the weekend.
Right.
If in Cleveland, like is LeBron gonna be the host? Like
well, especially because Jared Allen is currently 6th. And 6th by a wide margin. Like fifth is Jimmy Butler with almost 1 million votes. 6th is Jared Allen with 341,000.
Somebody's going to start a rumor that says that they have a bill that isn't going to allow unisex bathrooms or whatever the fuck that thing was that got kicked out of Charlotte.
Oh.
Somebody's going to do that because they're like, we can't go to Cleveland. We got to come up with something. They're racist in Cleveland. They don't. Can you just send it to LA or Hawaii or something?
Destination All-Star game.
Yeah, exactly. Just come up with
Cleveland.
anything. But yeah, I mean, the voting returns so far are they're pretty sad. I mean, it's like, I will say the East has it more correct than the West.
If you were to take the votes out, I feel like for the most part, maybe outside of Levine over DeRozan, in my opinion, I feel like all the other starters are there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think the only difference
all
is
healthy,
Levine
like
and DeRozan.
Yeah, and I agree.
And because even the like lower numbers of the East are still understandable. Like Tatum at 4, Butler 5. Jared Allen's been having a really good season. Bam Adebayo also before he got hurt. Siakam came back pretty well. Miles Bridges, a very good season. I think the only head scratcher in there is LaMarcus Aldridge at 10th.
Yeah.
And then with the guards, I mean, yeah, Kyrie being at 6th when he's played 3 games is a little much. And then
they call it the All-Star break because I ain't fucking watching it. I can tell you that.
But Fred VanVleet, Darius Garland, and Jaylen Brown at 8, 9, 10, I could see all those guys being in the All-Star game, especially Darius Garland. But the West is all sorts of when Wiggins has 200,000 more votes than Ja Morant and 400,000 more than Luka Doncic, there's an issue there.
That doesn't make any sense. But hey, good if that's who the people want to see, I guess that's who we're going to see on All-Star Weekend.
True.
I don't know what is going on, but I guess good for Wiggins.
Yeah. I mean, he was expected to be up there when he was first drafted. He was drafted over Joel Embiid. But
my Trump impression was almost as good as my Mike Tyson impression.
Oh, God. I don't think I even heard your Mike Tyson impression. I don't know if I do.
That's how memorable it was.
Oh, Lord. But, yeah, I mean, shot in the dark, who's your guys' All-Star MVP this year? As if tons of people are going to watch. So
here's the thing. It's got to be someone who's going to take shots and not be Curry.
Well, we know Giannis actually competes.
So it's not going to be a guy like Jokic. It's not going to be. It's going to have to be a starter most likely.
Probably.
Can you put that list up real quick again?
Yep.
Is somebody going to hit Is a team going to hit 200 points this year? That's what I want to know.
I'm going to go with Andrew. No, I'm just kidding. I think Jayson Tatum is going to be not because this is a Celtics episode, but I think Jayson Tatum is going to win the MVP. Him or DeMar DeRozan.
Okay.
I feel like Curry is just. I don't know. It's hard not to take him.
Yeah, I feel like this environment is suited for a Trae Young or a Curry, where they could just launch bombs all night.
Watch
long.
out for Myles
There'll be way more separation.
I think it's going to be Ja Morant.
See, I would love to see that. He's a stud.
Oh, yeah. I just think it's Ja because Ja just seems like that guy to me who's just I don't care what those unwritten rules of baseball kind of thing. He's I don't care what the old people have to say. I'm just going to go out and score 60 points and dunk on top of people even if they're not
He's going to drive with no rim protection.
Yeah,
everyone's
exactly.
Here, do it, have a mini dunk contest in the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I would love to see Joel Embiid, but he himself doesn't want to get hurt in the All-Star game, so he's not going to get hurt in
warm-ups.
There's also a million centers.
True.
Embiid's he's taking the game. He ain't going. He's taking. I mean, he can't go. He'll get hurt.
He went last year. Or whenever they had the All-Star game.
But I feel like he might request to not play.
Yeah,
30 minutes.
I think he played 5 minutes the last one he was in because he just didn't care.
If there's probably a bonus, it's a $1 million All-Star bonus.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I know now they have whoever wins the bigger donation goes to charity, whatever charity they pick, and blah blah blah.
Nice.
But I don't know. They probably get some sort of a bonus or it's in their contracts or something. So, but I think that's everything for us, unless you guys have anything to get off your chest. Dennis?
Nah, I killed a couple of Big Macs tonight. I'm shot.
I got you. So, Alec, do you have anything you need to plug? Any socials, anything?
So you guys can find me on my YouTube only. It's called Down the Block Sports. I have my own show. It's called the Alec Walt Show, where I'll go solo and react to some news going on in the world of sports, or I'll interview a guest here and there. I've had some pretty cool basketball guests on. It's pretty much all sports. I kind of like to hit a bunch of different routes there, but Down the Block Sports, YouTube only. Not really too active on Twitter, really. So if you want to find my content, definitely check it out there and interact with some of our videos. I like responding to the crowd. I think I'm at 620 after Dennis subscribed to my channel there. So definitely for everyone who's listening, please subscribe to the channel. So you can find my content there. Again, Down the Block Sports on YouTube.
You're at 621 now.
Let's go.
There
You
we
don't
go.
talk about the government cover-up of UFOs in Roswell or any
I
of
do
that
not,
stuff.
unfortunately. No.
Dennis, that's your YouTube.
Might not be the best spot to find that, but maybe you'll get a Celtics video here and there. They're frustrating as hell to watch, so I'm kind of hoping they make a trade to give me something, to talk about. But it's like, oh, blew another lead. Well, now we're on a win streak, actually. But we'll get a bunch of content going up there lately. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. And we'll have the link in the description on YouTube. If you guys are watching, we'll also have the link in the description everywhere you get podcasts. So make sure you guys go subscribe to Down the Block Sports. Check out the Alec Walt Show. Thanks again for joining us, man. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, guys. I've been looking forward to it for all day. Haven't talked much basketball with you. We talked a couple months back, but
Yep.
It was nice to catch up on what things was going on. So hopefully if I get some Nets talk here, some trades, I now have 2 more guests I can point to. Good to connect with you two as well. So whenever you guys want to talk basketball, Celtics or not, hit me up. I'd love to come back on the show.
You don't want Dennis on your show.
We'll see what happens.
No rebuttal, Dennis?
I tell you, and then I had McNuggets too with barbecue sauce. I got nothing. And then a mocha frappe large.
Oh, you went to McDonald's. Okay.
I did. Took a plate. Well, the wife has COVID, but the daughter has COVID.
But you have nothing to eat because you can't cook for yourself.
So for some reason, I'm feeling like I need to baby myself because I need to make it about me. So I'm like, I'm not gonna eat like garbage today. They have COVID, so I just went to McDonald's.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's it for us. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the #1 podcast on the
Alec, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And make sure you guys check us out everywhere you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe, like the video down low as well. And again, we will have the link to Alec's YouTube channel down there as well. Thank you, everybody. And we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Mike sucks.